Another day, another upset in Flushing Meadows, and this time it was a big one. Rafael Nadal, the 22-time major winner, was knocked out by Frances Tiafoe after a thriller of a match. We'll be reviewing the action and the reaction from the biggest win of Tiafoe's career, and we'll take a look at what's next for him. Let's get into it right away. Starting with Tiafoe upsets Nadal. Rafael Nadal was set to take on Frances Tiafoe for a place in the quarterfinals of the US Open. Tiafoe had the support of the home crowd, but no one really would have given him a chance against someone like Rafa, given how poor his record is against the big fish. And that's primarily why there was hardly any panic when Nadal actually lost the first set, because it wasn't the first time he dropped a set during the ongoing US Open. For Tiafoe, though, it was a sensational start. Who would have known that this magical performance can't compare to the first set between Fognini and Rafa, and that it was pure class from the American. He was making it look ridiculously easy as he got Rafa running around the court finding the corners. Nadal generally struggled and couldn't do much to hang on as Tiafoe made it 6-4 to close out the first set. This followed into the second set. Both players were impeccable on their serve, but neither made inroads on break points. Tiafoe was serving to stay in the set when he finally felt the pressure and ended up making two huge errors. Unfortunately for Tiafoe, those errors came at a terrible time, and he ended up losing the second set. In the third set, Tiafoe stepped it up, and despite getting broken, he managed to keep the pressure on the Spaniard and forced him into making errors. It was superb hitting from the 24-year-old, who brought the same in the fourth to cause one of the biggest upsets of the year. Moving on, the reaction from Big Foe. When you talk a big game, the best course of action is to deliver a big one as well. And that's exactly what Tiafoe did. And for someone who was predicted to be the next big thing, Frances has truly arrived at the biggest stage with the biggest win. And the reaction from the 24-year-old was simply beautiful to watch as he broke down after the match into his towel. As we said, it was the perfect conclusion to a superb 24 hours or so from Tiafoe. Before the match, he'd said that he could beat Nadal, and he did exactly that. In fact, the only set that Tiafoe lost was down to his own careless mistake due to pressure, and he can be forgiven for that, which shows just how good his plan was for Nadal, and the execution was even better. After all, it would have to be something special for an American to defeat Nadal in a major because he hadn't lost in 17 years. Reacting to his win on court, Tiafoe explained how the world had stopped for him and how he was beyond happy, and how he had played unbelievable tennis. He's not someone who's ever been low on confidence, so that wasn't an issue, but the emotions were overwhelming, as they should be, and he isn't being cautious with his ambitions now. Tiafoe believes he can go all the way and win the US Open. Well, if you can beat the greatest ever at a major, you better have the confidence to go all the way too. On to the sporting world's reaction. The US Open is a pretty big event for everyone in sports, not just the people associated with tennis. When Tiafoe won, he saluted his friend and superstar from the NBA, Bradley Beal, who was attending his first tennis match. Damn, that's not a bad way to get into tennis. But the biggest reaction, as far as Tiafoe is concerned, came from LeBron James, who tweeted in support of Frances, congratulating him and calling him a young king. Yeah, it doesn't get better than that. And Tiafoe knew that and said that he was losing it and going crazy in the locker room. Rich Paul, a super agent from the NBA, also sent him a congratulatory text. Charleston Woodson, Joel Embiid, Kerry Champion, and the Washington Wizards, along with the Washington Mystics, all joined in to celebrate the big win for Tiafoe. He comes across as a fun and social guy. It's hardly a wonder that everyone wanted to join in the happy moment for the superstar. Adnan Virk and Tyler Byram were also full of praise for Tiafoe, and he fully deserved this reaction. Also, the consequence of Tiafoe's big win. Tiafoe's win had massive consequences, direct and indirect, both. Talking about the direct consequences of knocking out Nadal meant that he couldn't extend his lead of Grand Slams to 23 and will have to wait for the next year to do so. It was a massive opportunity with Novak Djokovic not playing, Alexander Zverev injured, and Daniil Medvedev, the former defending champion, knocked out. But it just wasn't meant to be, and Tiafoe came up with the goods. As for the indirect consequences, we could see a new world number one before the US Open finishes. We were going to see one anyway, with Medvedev not being able to defend his title, and Nadal was the favorite to take over, as a semi-final finish would have meant he got that number one spot. Now, though, there's a massive opportunity for Casper Ruud and teenage sensation Carlos Alcaraz to become the world number one in men's tennis, which would be an incredible achievement for them. Tiafoe, too, could scratch the top 10 for the first time in his career if he keeps up this spectacular run and ends up winning the Grand Slam. Of course, that would be the last thing on his mind, because winning the US Open itself would be the biggest possible achievement any of these players can wish to have. More importantly, though, we'll be getting another new US Open champion and that's as big as it gets. Let's see who gets their first Grand Slam. Lastly, what's next for Tiafoe? If Tiafoe wants to progress to the semifinals, he'll have to do all of that all over again against Andrei Rublev, the third highest ranked player left in the draw. Rublev's had a tough draw, but he's managed to pull through, and he won't be easy to play against. We've got no doubts that Tiafoe will definitely have the support of the crowd, considering Rublev's Russian, and well, Tiafoe is as American as it gets. Rublev already played 2 5-setters on his way to the quarters, but managed a spectacular straight sets win over Cameron Norrie. He'll fancy his chances against Tiafoe, but we've got to factor in the high Francis will be riding when he enters the court on Wednesday. Now, in other news, first up, Iga Swiatek pulls through. Despite getting an easier draw than most, Swiatek had to dig really deep to get past Jule Niemeyer in her first round of 16 clash. The world number 1 has only faced unseeded players so far, but Niemeyer didn't play like one and gave her all against Swiatek. In fact, her first set performance was so one-sided that most people were predicting another upset. But Iga found her serve late in the second to close out the set and force a decider. And that's the stuff of champions right there. As soon as the game went to a third, Niemeyer simply couldn't put up with the 2-time Grand Slam winner. She was bagelled in the most Swiatek-like way as Iga set up a quarterfinal match against local hero Jessica Pegula. Next, Carlos Alcaraz knocks out Cilic in Thriller. Rafael Nadal wasn't the only Grand Slam winner to lose on the night, as his fellow Spaniard Carlos Alcaraz edged past Marin Cilic in 5. Despite a superb start from Carlitos, Marin found his way in the second and was almost unplayable until the third when he got unlucky. But the 33-year-old had something on Alcaraz, and that was experience, which he used to win some crucial points and the fourth set to force a decider in what was proving to be one of the matches of the tournament. In the final set, Cilic gave it all, but he just didn't have enough in the tank as the youngster produced a very mature display to knock out the 2014 US Open champion in 5 sets. Alcaraz will be facing Jannik Sinner in another blockbuster clash as he looks to secure a place in the semifinals. Lastly, Khachanov and Sinner win big. The US Open round of 16 was easily one of the most entertaining rounds of fixtures this year. We had a number of spectacular matches with insane finishes, and the likes of Jannik Sinner and Karen Khachanov were also involved in super 5-set wins. Jannik Sinner overcame the challenge of Ilya Ivashka, who got terribly unlucky to not close out the game earlier. As for Khachanov, he defeated Pablo Carreno Busta after an impressive comeback in the 5th set. And that's a wrap for this video. Do you think Francis Tiafoe can win the US Open 2022? Let us know in the comments down below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.